fighting, a big part of the NHL conversation after the George Peros mishap this week against Colton Orr. And yesterday, a couple of general managers came out and said, we need to address this. I am on the record saying you can fight all you want. I just think you should be kicked out of the game. Nick Kyprios disagrees with me. Jim Rutherford is the Carolina Hurricanes president and general manager. Jim, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I think harsher penalties make more sense. I don't think we should just automatically eliminate fighting from the game. It's been part of the game for a long time. But at the same time, we're at a point in our league where with bigger and stronger players, faster game, we need to protect the players as much as we can.
So Jim, just a minute. Where you stand right now,
what's the adequate punishment that you believe should be in place? And then, Nick, you take over with Doug.
Well, I'm not real sure. I mean, my comments yesterday and whatever I say going forward is really to open this up for as much a debate as we can and get everybody's ideas. If I had to make a decision today to start the conversation, which I know there's a downside to what I'm going to say, is that give a game misconduct for a player that fights. Now, of course, the downside to that is you get a fighter going after the top player and getting them out of the game, and then the referees have to make a discretion call on that. And then on top of a game misconduct for fighting, I think if you fight a certain number of times, whatever people think is fair, 5 times, then you get suspended for a number of games.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, that's exactly what I told our host, but he doesn't get it. But I'm glad you're in a position to clarify that for us.
Why don't you yell at Jimmy like you yelled at Darren?
Jimmy, just so we're clear here, because apparently we all woke up one morning and figured out, or we got the impression that you and Steve Yzerman want fighting out of the game. If obviously there's a gray here, but where is your stance? Do you feel like there's value in it, or are you totally against fighting in the NHL?
No, I'm not totally against fighting, and certainly there's points in our game that sometimes a fight is necessary. But with that being said, I think that the penalties should be harsher. And maybe at some point in time, and maybe this is where the interpretation came, over time, if you have harsher penalties, there's obviously going to be less fights, and it may get to a point that there won't be any fighting. But that's not what I'm suggesting today.
But, Jimmy, if you come with the rule of a game misconduct for fighting, as is the case in U.S. college or any place that has it, there's no fighting. The fighting will disappear, and that's a fact. And I guess my point is, when is the NHL? You and Stevie have said this. I've sat in GM meetings where it's been brought up. Let's talk about fighting, and then all of a sudden we got a helmet rule. When is the league going to say enough of this already? Let's get serious about coming with harsher penalties. And I like your point about the discretion of the referee is going to be critical here when it comes to going after the best players. So when will the league tackle this?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to think that we're at a point, because of the unfortunate result of the fight the other night, that we can get this conversation going and keep it going instead of waiting until something worse happens. And we all know how hard these guys punch. And these guys, I give them all the credit in the world, the guys that are in the enforcers on each team. For the most part, they're great team guys, they're great guys, and they do what they have to do. But at the same time, when 2 of those guys fight in a game, giving them a game misconduct just gets them out of that game. And if it had happened the other night, they wouldn't have got to a second fight. And so... but certainly we have to be cautious when we're giving out a game misconduct for a fight when it's not 2 enforcers fighting. If it's an enforcer and another player that doesn't fight very much and he doesn't want to fight, then we have to protect that situation.
You see it in U.S. college hockey where they go at it, and all of a sudden I look at the board and it's 4 minutes for roughing each, because it's a half a fight. Is that what you're talking about, Jimmy? The enforcer fights and the other guy just fights halfway?
No, I'm saying no. I mean, you can if it's a fight and the guy's not really willing to fight, but he's pushing back, he may get a 5-minute penalty,
right,
or whatever that penalty is, or a double minor, or whatever you mean. But it's not just college hockey. There's no fighting in the Olympics.
right.
It's the best hockey of all that we see. There's either no fighting or hardly any fighting in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the best hockey that we get to see all year, and do people really, the people the other night that were at the Bell Center, do you think if they left that game and there wasn't a fight, they'd be saying, geez, I really wish there had been a fight tonight? Sure, everybody likes to see a good fight, but at the same time, I'm not sure that it's selling any tickets.
What about, Jimmy, this argument about guys playing without consequences, taking liberties, playing dirty, where the enforcer can calm them down? This is an ongoing argument.
Oh, the rats would
do they get a free
over.
ride? Do they get a credit card?
Is there any way? I mean, again, it goes back to the referees, but is that a concern? Because it is with hockey people, typically.
No, because we're not saying we're taking fighting out of the game. You got somebody running around acting like an idiot and trying to hurt some of your teammates, then you can fight them. But
you get a game.
So after your fight, you're done for the night.
So what we really need to do is keep fighting in the game, but just get rid of some of the more meaningless fights. Is that what you're saying, Jim?
Oh, the second
one.
A
start.
Yeah, it's a start.
But and Nick, I'm open. I think what we're trying to do is just get everybody's ideas out there, talk about this more, and try to come up with a way that we can make this safer.
But Jim, didn't you go through this process 3 years ago with this staged fighting situation, and like, wasn't that what this was all about as well, or not?
We've talked about fighting longer than that.
Oh, no, I remember Bob Gainey bringing up 7 years ago, saying we've got to take fighting out of the game.
I think it goes back to Harry Sinden and Bobby Clark and different guys. We've talked about fighting for a long time, where it really fits in the game.
Jimmy Rutherford is the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's with Hockey Central at noon. Darren Millard, Nick Kiprios, and Doug McLean. The OHL has a 10-fight rule, and then you're suspended if you exceed that. You in favor of that? Is that a place to start or a place to look at?
Well, that was part of what I said earlier. You get the game misconduct, and after you have so many game misconducts, then you get suspended. I don't know what the right number of games is, but let's for example, just to get the conversation going, you have 5 fights, you have 5 game misconducts. Now you get suspended for 10 games or 5 games, because you can be pretty sure that it's not going to be the best players in our league that are going to get to that point where they're going to get suspended, because those guys might get in 1 or 2 fights just protecting themselves. Okay, but it's the guys that are there for the stage fights, and they're only on the team to do fighting. And if you get the bigger suspensions, and that's going to certainly make the number of fights a lot less, if not over time eliminate fighting.
Will you raise this at the general managers meeting?
I don't think I'll have to. I'm sure it'll be on the agenda. But if it's not, there's enough people that would like to have the conversation, and I know some of my good friends in the league, they're adamant about keeping it. So it's really a great debate that'll go on here, and hopefully we can make this better.
So, Jimmy, if you were to take a vote today amongst GMs who are in charge of making the rules in the league, apparently, what would the vote be today? Just a guesstimate. I mean, you'd have a pretty good idea.
I don't know.
But the needle.
Why would he say that?
And it's been talked about for 20 years, as you just said.
But he may not know the number, but Jimmy, the needle's moved here, hasn't it?
Some days.
Yeah, Yeah, it's probably moving a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
A little bit.
it's the same as any time. Anytime you have an unfortunate result of a fight or an incident like happened the other night, then the needle moves. And the danger here, and what really worries me, is that somebody's going to be hurt worse than George was, and and that would be just absolutely tragic if we lost somebody because we didn't try to protect the players better.
Boy, Kippy, you are a lot quieter in this segment than you were the last
I'm
segment.
not.
Well, no, Kippy, you said, somebody may get killed from being hit from behind, too.
Somebody could be icing. It's whatever the hot button topic is. If somebody got pulled off on a stretcher from a hit from behind, we'd have the hit from behind conversation, not the fighting one today, Jimmy.
And we should, I guess. We should.
And that's the nature of the beast,
right,
and I get that. But
you're right, we would. But at the same time, you know better than I. You've been through this. These guys are so big and strong, and when you're getting hit with one of those punches now, that punch can be fatal.
A little levity to the situation as we say goodbye, Jimmy. We should probably stop coaches from fighting as well, from Patrick Waugh and Gabby last night.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Those boards come down. Gabby's hurt.
Kirk Muller can hold his own, Jim. Don't worry about that.
Thanks
Don't
for
worry, Gabby's been beefing up for these kind of situations.
really
Jimmy.
appreciate the thoughts on this subject, and good luck to your club this year.
Just because he agrees with you, you like it.
So that's
Thanks,
good.
Jimmy.
It's good that
Thank you.